Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the third installment in the Ant-Man trilogy, the latest installment in the MCU, and is directed by Peyton Reed.
So, what's it gonna be? Ant-Man.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Don Martino here from Extract Media. So, Jose Espinal and myself have done recaps of the first two Ant-Man films here on the channel. If you guys want to go check those out, I definitely recommend it. We had some really fun discussions doing that. And the consensus for me is that I really loved the first film. While the second film was messy, I still liked it overall. I thought it had problems for sure, but overall an enjoyable film. For those of you who don't know, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, however, is pretty much the extension or continuation of Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd's life. And as Scott, his daughter, Hank Pym, Janet Pym, and Hope Van Dyne are playing with some quantum realm stuff, they kind of accidentally get sucked into the quantum realm and have to find their way home. At the same time, this film is meant to set up Kang the Conqueror in a big way. This will be the first time we're seeing him in a film, and I really like Jonathan Majors in this role in Loki, so I was super excited to see what happened here with him. All that being said, this is my least favorite Ant-Man film, and I hate to say that because I had a lot of excitement going in. I think a lot of the problems that were present in Ant-Man and the Wasp for me are here for me tenfold, and that's not good. This movie does become quite a bit of a mess from time to time. A lot of my problems are spoiler heavy, but what I can say is one of the biggest disappointments for me in the film is the quantum realm itself, which should be the strong point. I found myself not caring about a lot of the things they were trying to set up within the quantum realm. Way too over the top and ridiculous, and a lot more than I think it should have been. And because of how ridiculous things were, sometimes a lot of the jokes that they tried to play in the quantum realm fell very flat, even though tonally they were trying to make a more serious Ant-Man film overall, which I think they succeeded at to a degree, and I'll kind of get into that in a little bit. Something about this film was just so busy that it almost felt visually obnoxious. I've never really used that term before, but it's the best way I could describe it, where everything was done on the volume stage, it felt like, for the most part, which I understand it's kind of hard to recreate the quantum realm, and in order to do that you would need something like the volume stage, but it just doesn't feel perfected enough to try to do what this movie was doing. It just didn't look great. To me, there are just some very clear CGI flaws going on in this film. One of them having to do with, and this is not a spoiler, it was in the trailers, MODOK. I did not like the direction they took with MODOK. There's something with the CGI that I'm not going to get into because it is spoiler heavy, but it just really threw me off. And then on the back burner, you just have 100 other things happening, and it's really tough to try to really get this film into focus. And it had a really hard time navigating what the central point of the movie was when it had to add a lot of extra. I will say overall, like, the action we get in this movie, it's okay enough. It's entertaining to watch. I did enjoy the action. The sound design was unbelievable, though. I just got to give the sound design all the credit in the world. There were sound moments that just really blew me away that I love so much. Easily, this is one of the most disappointing IMAX experiences I've had, though, honestly. Like I said, there are some visual moments in here that do work. Just for the most part, it's too visually busy to really appreciate a lot of the things they're trying to throw at you. And I just felt, writing-wise and story-wise, something about this movie just felt very off to me. I couldn't really put my finger on it other than it's just way too much going on. And I think for this one, Peyton Reed really just tried to be way too overly ambitious for what his talents as a filmmaker has to offer right now, and that sucks to say because I do respect him trying to take chances, trying to be ambitious, but it just doesn't work all in all. There are a lot of highlights here, though, when it comes to the core cast that I really want to point out. Michael Douglas and Evangeline Lilly are good in the film. They both get one great moment, though, per character, I feel like, those two, and when the great moments come up, they fell quite flat for me because they're not utilized enough in the rest of the movie for me to have really felt the dramatic weight of their big moments, and it just kind of fell flat, might be the best way to put it. Their performances aren't bad, though. Everything that they have to do in the movie is perfectly fine. Michelle Pfeiffer, on the other hand, has a lot more to do in this one, and I was really happy to see that. She also has a big exposition scene that could have been cut down. That has nothing to do with her performance, and she did enough here to really make me like the character of Janet Pym. Catherine Catherine Newton's a new addition to the cast, and wow, was she fantastic. I really loved her work here. She was awesome as Cassie Lang. I think there are specific things she had to hit because we've seen somebody else take on this role in the past. Actually, two other actresses take on the role of Cassie, and she really got it down so precise. I thoroughly bought her as the young Cassie Lang in this film, and I thought her and Paul Rudd just had tremendous chemistry to help me to buy into that. After seeing that this movie wasn't as great of a trilogy ender as I think it really could have been, I felt very bad for Paul Rudd because Paul Rudd is giving it his all. He's so funny in the movie. I mean, his comedic beats are fantastic, and I think he gives like the best performance he has as Ant-Man in terms of what he's trying to do with the performance. It really works. There are some big moments he has here that he just needs to nail, and man, Paul Rudd can do no wrong as an actor at this point. He is fantastic, and I felt like he did his best, like he reached the potential of what his acting ability can show in a film, and wow, he is just so good, so charismatic, and works extremely well here. He continues to have chemistry with everybody he interacts with, which is just awesome, which I think really helps hold up the first two films as well, and he also just continues to stay so consistent with what the Ant-Man character is, and I'm just loving every bit of that from him here. What this movie did right is it really set up Kang the Conqueror to be an extremely frightening, amazing villain. Jonathan Majors is a revelation, and he knocks this role out of the park. All of the scenes with him in it really work. There are scenes with him, Paul Rudd, and Catherine Newton all on the screen together. Those are definitely the strongest moments of the film for sure. And it just reaches this level of intensity that I've just never seen in an Ant-Man movie. The work done with Kang here really blew me away. It definitely gets me excited about what's to come in the future, and I think it really saved a lot of this movie for me. I'd also like to mention that the score here is the strongest it's been in all three Ant-Man films. That was a highlight for me as well. I really love the score. It's a little bit more science fiction, and I thought that played very strong here. I really liked everything going on there. I know that this was trying to be a grand scale movie, and it definitely delivers on the promise of that. However, it just doesn't deliver on the grand scale of it. This film is much better when it's focused on fewer characters, honestly, and that's when it really works. And when you try to tie that in with a lot more going on, you're losing a lot of the weight. There were some side players that they definitely tried to bring to the forefront here that also just didn't work for me, unfortunately, and I did not enjoy that. This movie definitely felt like it thinks it's more compelling than it actually is, if that makes sense, and that was kind of obnoxious. I do think that the film ends very nicely. It does have two post-credit scenes that I thought were pretty good too, and really set up great things for the future. The second post-credit scene especially, or the one that's not the mid-credit scene, but stick around for both of them. You will have a good time with those. Unfortunately, this movie just overall, I mean, it has some slow pacing where it should be fast, and it doesn't really work, and a lot of that's due to extra exposition that's unneeded. Also, a ton of writing that just really isn't that strong. Again, when it's focused on just a few specific characters, it really works, but when it tries to be way too big and too bombastic, this is actually kind of disappointing. I was really torn on this one because it has my favorite moments in an Ant-Man movie, but it also has my least favorite moments in an Ant-Man movie, so it's a 50-50 here. Because of the beginning and then a lot of the stuff in the third act, I do have to say I overall thought this movie was fine, and for that I am going to give it a might go. I think if you go to it, there are going to be moments that you're probably going to enjoy, but just expect there to be a lot that you're not as well, so there's that. Okay guys, now it's your turn to tell me what you thought of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Wish there was more Wasp in it myself, but before I get out of here, please do us a favor, hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, and hit the bell for notifications. That's always much appreciated. I am Don Martino, and I will talk to you guys later.